They're kind of closed, and they have had a history and a past that kind of comes into their current relationship, and so it's really hard for them to dig deep. I know for Hasani and I, because I have a past of craziness, I was kind of closed to accepting certain ideas, and also I was closed to talking about my past. I didn't really want to talk to him about what I came through because it was embarrassing and it was shameful. And so that kind of shut off a lot of communication, and he wondered why there were certain things that I wasn't willing to do in the bedroom. And a lot of it had nothing to do whether it was right or wrong or whether God saw it as fit or unfit. It was just because of my experiences and what was in my head is related to those certain things. So, I want to talk about a little bit about the power of an apology as it relates to moving forward in your intimacy. Because a lot of times when we are experiencing offense in our marriage, and we talked a little bit about this, when we start kicking things under the rug and they're never dealt with, when it's time for us to get intimate, that issue is still there. It's like a little seed of resentment that's just there. And it's very hard for a woman especially to move past those issues when an apology has never come. It's really unfair for us to wound our partner, to say things that are wrong, we know that are hurtful, or to hide things or keep things from our partner that we refuse to deal with. And so now what you do is you injure that person and you leave them with all the baggage to carry, all that mess to deal with. And guess whose responsibility it is for us to deal with offense? It's ours. It's ours. So the Bible tells us that we shouldn't be offended. So now you've offended me and I'm hurt, but I can't be offended because now that's something that's weighing on my heart. That's going to cause me to have a stony heart. Now I'm going to have issues because you offended me and you refuse to acknowledge the offense. It's not that you don't know that you've offended me, but you refuse to acknowledge the offense. And so, but you still want intimacy. You still want to connect, and this is man or female. It's not that women want to have less sex than men necessarily. We have found that it's pretty equal. As a matter of fact, we deal with a lot of couples where it's the man that's not interested these days. It's the women that really want to have the sex. But how can I get past all the offenses that I feel if you won't acknowledge and apologize? You might have said something. You might have just been in a bad mood, walked out the door and didn't acknowledge it. You might just be breaking rules and not acknowledging our agreements. So I want to talk to you about the power of an apology and tell you a little bit more about me, my story, and how I was able to forgive my father. Because my father was very abusive, I told you. And I felt abandoned by my father because as a little girl, he let me know that he loved me. And the way that he let me know that he loved me, despite all of his dysfunctional ways, was that he called me his Danny Bear. And I felt that. I'm like, I'm his Danny Bear. Like, I got this special name. I'm his only daughter. I even have a tattoo to prove it. I got that years ago. I wish I could have it removed now, but that was where I was at that point. And I felt special. And then when things went awry, my parents divorced, my father went his way and he never looked back. He never looked back. He never checked on me. He never called me. He never made an effort to fight to be in my life. And as a result of that, I was extremely wounded. I was very hurt by that. I had resentment. I had hardness in my heart. And I remember one day, I still kept contact with my father because he was my father, and I love my father, even to this day. And I remember he called me, and we had this long conversation, and I asked him about all the things that I saw, all the negative things that I saw him do growing up. Why was he this way? What was his experience? What happened to him that made him so just dysfunctional? And I come to find out that he was abused. I come to find out that he was wrongly accused. He went to prison for manslaughter. And what happened, he was in a club, and there was, some guys there, and something happened, some words were exchanged, and he ended up getting jumped. And he carried a pocket knife around with him. And he went up under a table or a chair, and he just started swinging the pocket knife, to protect himself. He was in a gang fight. And he ended up stabbing some young boy in the leg, in like one of these vital arteries. And that kid died. And so he went to prison for manslaughter. And he experienced prison abuse. And a lot of other things happened to him that totally destroyed his life. And I asked him about some of the things that he did that I saw growing up. And he said, you know what, I don't remember. all those things. But if everyone says that I did it, then I did it. And